What's up, guys? It's your boy LGM. Today we are going to be diving into how I produce, mixed, and mastered my song Where. So let's get into it. Alright, so right off the bat, the thing that I should tell you is that I use a top-down mixing approach, and a lot of the times I mix while I am producing. If I don't think it sounds good right then, why would I not just take another take? So most of the time I'm going to be in here doing the rough mixing, maybe about 80% of it. The big thing is going to be tuning. That's a nitpicky thing that I take my time on, and that's not something I'm going to be doing in between each take. Let's go ahead and go through some of the drums, what I did here. Although it says it's an empty kit, I ended up doing separate tracks for everything. So first I started with the percussion. I think this is the hi-hat. And I thought that had a really unique sound. A lot of these sounds I know that I got from Make Pop Music. That's just one of my go-tos. I really like it, and that's why I almost always end up using one of their packs. I'm not sponsored, anything like that. I just really like them. This is another cool thing. So I did a lot of work on this. If we listen to the sound just initially, it's a cool ping pong thing, and it does have some echo and delay, like ping pong delay built in there. I think that's why it says ping pong. But I wanted to add halftime, and that's always going to lower it by an octave and then slow it down, and I used a half loop. And then I also added Pancake, which is a free plugin that just pans stuff left and right automatically. I went ahead and did that over 2 bars because I wanted to add a little bit of movement in this percussion when we were going. Next thing I added, instead of a snare, I wanted to add like a weird droning high-pitched ping noise. And then I used a regular snare here. And then I added a kick. And all of these, I'm near positive I got all of this from Make Pop Music. So altogether, if you just want to listen to those drums soloed out. Another reason that I went ahead and broke these all up instead of just using a single kit is because when I get in here, I was able to, I don't know exactly what this is called if I'm being honest, but you can pitch these up, and so that's what I went ahead and did. And that just made it have a little bit more variety in the percussion. I think percussion is going to be the place for me where I naturally want to add the most variety. I normally want to go ahead and just add a few chords, and then percussion is going to be that thing that really adds the sauce, really makes you grimace and go like, oh, this is awesome. So we got the drums, then we got some of the bass. Then I pulled up some Serum for that Holy Moly 808. I know for a fact this is a Make Pop Music hip hop preset, so you can go ahead and purchase that if you're looking for this exact same thing. I'm not huge on crafting my own sounds, so if I can find one like this, and that was good. So normally I end up having a few different tracks that are going to be for the bass, but in this case, just have one. So I have everything routed. This is my top-down mixing approach. Everything's going to go into one of these sections. So the all Vox, all vocals, piano, synths, acoustic guitars, electric, bass, drums, percussion, and a parallel compression that's always on. It's almost always very subtle though. But if you have the bass soloed out, you can see what I have here is, I think, just one track. Yeah, as we go through, we see it's just one. It's just this Holy Moly 808. But it was plenty, especially when you're able to do this. If you just want to add more of that sub bass, instead of having this peak, since you're doing gain staging along the way, this is a whole lot easier because let's say I can't boost my bass, but I need it louder. I can highlight every single one of these tracks except the bass, bring them down 2 to 5 dB, and I all of a sudden have way more bass going through this. Now we got our drums, we got our bass. So we got our drums and bass. We got a few percussive instruments right here. Here's one. And that's my I don't know what to call it, maybe my signature go. I like to have that on more of my songs. I just think it's a fun thing to do. And it's in the background. It's supposed to be subtle. It's not supposed to be the primary thing. So when you listen all together, I just wanna know, it's not in the forefront. You can hear it, but it's not overpowering. That's going to be the drums, the bass. We got a few percussive instruments going on. All right, so now we got to the melody. We got the choir going on here. So the first thing we have is a male choir. The way that I made this was with, I think it's Spitfire Labs. Nope, it's just Spitfire Audio's original Epic Choir. I think I got this on sale for like 30 bucks. Then the next thing we got is a high-pitched choir right here. For some reason I bounced this out, but I didn't bounce out the rest of it. Guess this is just my process. That sounds pretty good. The next thing we have is a vocal engine called Exhale. It sounded weird, but I liked that, so I threw the melody on there. It's muted now, as you can see, because I bounced it and did one in the middle, the left, and the right. And then I added some channel EQ on the left and right so that we would cut off that low end, and then halftime to add a little bit of variation. So when you add all three of those together, I'll start with the middle and then add the left and right. It just reinforces the vocals that are here. Now all together, I'm just gonna go over here and mute my vocals and you'll kind of hear what I've been playing with right now. So that's a pretty simple thing, and like I said, the percussion is really that element that has the variation. It's been making the biggest difference. That's what I love about it. All right, on to the vocals. So I had a main chorus vocal that I primarily just copied and pasted because once I got it, I had it. I have my verses right here, and then along with this, I have a lot of Sean's, which was the featured artist on this track. I have a lot of different takes here and things that we were able to add to really spice up his verse. He crushed it. He was super quick. So having him in the studio was a blast. At the same time, it made me a little jealous because this dude came in and just ripped it. So let's listen to this real quick. I wanna know where you want me to go. So you can hear that that's a pretty hard tune. When we go ahead and click inside, we have flex pitch turned on. I use flex pitch a lot. I got the like mid-tier Melodyne and I don't really like the way that it's used. And more often than not, when I pair a little bit of harder, more intensive vocal processing such as flex pitch or Melodyne along with Metatune, depending on the style, I can have a fairly aggressive tuning like this, and then this smooths out any remaining problems that are here. And I try and keep it somewhat subtle. I don't want it to sound like that T-Pain effect, but I don't really care if it's obvious that it's processed because that's the style I'm going for. So I have Metatune turned on, I have flex pitch turned on. You can copy those settings if you're trying to do the same thing. And then I've started implementing a really slow attack compressor to try and let a lot of those transients through. Especially if we're getting into a louder part, that'll start to tame it as the vocals just go up and down. It is crazy the variation that the human voice can have, both in range as well as overall volume, and that's just one way that I can help to tame it. For my main vocal, I went ahead and did a cut at 556 hertz, another cut at 1964 hertz, a big boost of 5.5 decibels at the 57, almost 5800 range, and then I did a high-end boost that just starts at right at 5300. And it goes all the way to the 20 hertz, and that's boosting up to, I mean, right at 5.5 dB. So that's pretty significant. A lot of times with my mic, I'm using a Warm Audio WA47. I was looking over at it. It sounds really good, but I do have to boost the high end a lot. So from that vocal, we went ahead and went from that vocal track that has all this processing on it onto my main vocal or MVox, where I was able to gain stage for 1 and 2 add another Pro Q3 that boosts around 3800. So now you know that this 38 to 56 is really boosted. We have about 5.5 dB right here that had been boosted previously. I did a low end cutoff here. That's why I didn't have a low end cutoff earlier. I have another compressor on there. It's a faster attack. And then on top of this, I have yet another compressor. So I love to slam my vocals. That's what I do. Maybe this isn't perfect, but that's my current process. If you have any suggestions, I'm always taking them. But more often than not, that's what I do to get this. So I have a less aggressive compression rate here of 2.1 to 1, and it was another fast one, a fast attack and a fairly fast release, but it was nothing too extensive. And then finally we go to my Allvox, which has a little bit of saturation. I do that on all of these tracks to try and kind of emulate an analog board because everyone loves analog, but I can't afford it. Yet another compressor. I don't think I did any compression on this. This is just, those are the two things that are always on there just in case I needed it. I did another EQ boost right at the 4600, and then yet another high-end boost, and that was just going to help glue everything together, not just this main vocal but all of them. And then then a compressor with a side chain to bus 22, which is my bass. So I wanted it to dip a tiny bit when the bass hit, just to try and give that sub just a little bit more bounce. Normally I would not do that. That's not something I do all the time, but for some reason when I was really trying to get into the thick of it with mixing, this is the way that it sounded great, and that's why I've done what I've done. So we have that main vocal discussed fully. The next thing we got is a vocal stack, and this is where it got crazy. So I did a ton of left, right, just doubles. All of these are not going to be just duplicated tracks. It's going to be one where I made a take, panned it left, did a completely new take, and panned it right, and that's what I would always recommend. The slight differences are going to make it sound better, and when you duplicate a track and just go left and right, it's going to sound weird. At least flip the polarity, or don't. It's your choice, but that's normally what I recommend. So on these low ends, I did take one of those earlier recorded tracks, and then I just threw on some Metatune, a little altar boy, and chorus. And I almost always do a little altar boy and chorus effect. That's something I learned from, you guessed it, Make Pop Music, and I really enjoy that. And then on these, I tried really hard to tune them like crazy hard. I wanted nothing to be out of place for this choir, so I'm gonna just start adding them. I even panned the bass left and right a little bit. That's something I normally wouldn't recommend, but in this case it just worked out where I thought it sounded good. I wanna know. And then we start getting into the mid harmonies. I guess I didn't label this one, and for some reason it's way far out. Oh, it's because I did it like this. So this was a mid harmony left 1, mid harmony left 2, but not as far. Mid harmony right 1 and mid harmony right 2. So I'll solo all those out along with the bass. That doesn't sound great, so let's throw on some more. We got a main left and right, and then we got a main middle, and then we got yet again another main left and right, and a main right, 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 left, left. Crazy stuff here, you know? This was really cool because even when I was recording it, I just used this Rode NT1 for a lot of the choir or vocal stack. And when you duplicate vocals, like, or take the exact same take and you're just crushing it, the tone is good, everything's doing good, it's going to start to add some resonant frequencies. So I didn't boost the high end a ton. Like, I wasn't over here adding little altar boy and pitching stuff up an octave. It just naturally was starting to have a presence there. And so I didn't need to record super high octave up takes. So I really wanted to make this a gritty, like bassy low end. So we'll hear this one more time and then I'll add in that main vocal and you'll kind of see how it just glues it all together. It doesn't sound bad, but add that main chorus. I wanna know where you want me to go. I think it sounds really clean. So we got that going there. For the main verses, I went ahead and threw on some Metatune. It's going, but really it's not doing that much here. And I didn't tune it with flex pitch. As you can see, I did use a compressor. Like I said, we used a lot of compression. So you can see those working together. I wanna do this thing differently. So I'm doing about 0.8 to maybe like 1.5 dB of reduction here, and then 3 to 4 here. And then on top of that, we have a big boost on that 5100 hertz range. And keep in mind, since we're doing top-down mixing, I already showed you guys later on down the chain, we have some more boosting here just to try and add that crispiness that's there, especially as bassy as this song is. This helps it cut through really easily. And then after that, I added another compressor for this track. I wanna do this thing differently. And that's another like 2 to 3.5 dB of reduction right there. Just helps even it out. I'm not gonna go through a ton more like with this verse, but I do want to show you right here. I have another stack. It's my checked stack. And so what I did here, if we listen, the hip better get checked. So I did a lot of the same things that I did in that first stack right here, but in this one I added some whispers. So instead of doing the high end like octave up, I decided to add some whispers. I panned those just like I would the rest of this stuff. That's actually the primary part that you can hear there. Even though I have these boosted pretty loud, I mean it cuts. You can hear it if you listen closely. The hip better get checked. And that was the point, just to add a little bit of razzle dazzle. So I got that going on. So now you know roughly how the vocals were made. You know how I made the drums. I used the Holy Moly 808. Then I got a choir to back me up on top of all of my singing shenanigans. That's about it. Will say I used a Lil Nas X Industry Baby as the reference track. So switch back and forth to hear with my mixing and mastering how close I was. I feel like that it's not a quality song as far as the content, but did sound very well produced, very well made, and so I wanted to make sure to try and be as close to that level as I can be from my little apartment studio. So the only other thing to really mention here would probably be some of Sean's verse, because we did a lot of different things. So on his, we added some compressor, which wasn't too aggressive. I know here. Let the world to be right. I was not. So right here, you can tell we went between take 2 and take 3, so we liked this better. That's just something, if you're new to recording, take multiple takes, gives you a lot of different options. Here, we did another little vocal stack, and then there's a lot more that we did on his end, so I'll show you that. We have a double going on here. Asking you Alpha Omega, should I choose Alpha or Beta? Don't have the data, So what we did, we'll start with his original, and then we'll add in the other stuff and get through that too. Asking you Alpha Omega, should I choose Alpha or Beta? Don't have the data, walking by faith in the Savior, that on my... So you can hear there's a little bit of like he went to the main vocal bus that I had. So there's some EQ, compressors, and then we threw on, in order, short reverb, long reverb, short delay, long delay, octave down and octave up. And I didn't really add a ton of signal, but you can still hear a little bit of that. So then the next thing we added to this to beef up that part, because we wanted to add a little bit of variation, we just changed the format. So honestly, we were joking around and saying he sounded like Biggie. And then we threw on Pancake, and because this also goes to the Harm Vox or the Harmony Vox vocal track right here, we'll go ahead and show that I cut off some of that low end, not all of it, but a lot of the low end, boosted the high at 3250 and that mid at 3600, which I normally wouldn't do on like a main vocal. So that shows some of the variation here. And then another compressor. Asking you Alpha Omega, should I choose Alpha or Beta? Don't have the... So we got Biggie on the track, and then we did a left and right, and I'll just solo those out for a second so you can hear those. Alpha Omega, Alpha or Beta, data. And that was just supposed to reinforce the hype words in that section. We also got a few parts right here. Sing best, me stress. And it's just that same thing. In this case, I threw on a lot of distortion. This was earlier on in his verse. And then compressor, some EQ. I like to take off some of the high end sometimes when it's supposed to be in the background. I don't like too much sizzle depending on what's going on, especially when we're processing this so much. And then I threw on a dotted delay, and that was really cool. One part here too is I added a left and right and then a reverse of these. That's one of his things he really likes to do in a lot of his tracks is like an So I wanted to run with that and try and elevate it higher. So we went ahead and did a left and a right, so you can hear a little bit of variation there. That is not copied and pasted. Like I said, it's different takes. He did that throughout it. So right here is going to be Slain. It was like a little ad lib. And we threw on Alter Boy, octave down, the echo going in there, and then a clip distortion, and it just sounds wonky, and the drive is what makes that have a lot of that crispy, kind of muddy low end, but the mix, since it's around like 50-55%, maybe it's 60, that still kept a lot of that original sound. So if we take that out, that's you hear that crispiness of that, so we add in the low end and that distortion. Then we add that echo and that clip distortion. And it's a fun little thing right there. Right here is going to be Sean's Yeah, and we wanted to do that left and right because we had Slain still echoing out. So when we have all three of those together. And we had Sean's Yeah right here. Because this had such a long echo, I wanted to do this one left and right since it was going down the center. So it hits at the same time. Then as we progress further down Sean's part, we actually have another Biggie moment right here where you can hear this. Still not sure if it's wrong or it's right, doing this, doing that, is it God or my pride? Going left to right, not 100%. And then the last thing is just all of these. So I'll just solo those out at once. And it's just him saying where. We got this going to the Uvox, which is one of my settings I have right here. Threw on some reverb, not a ton of it. The echo is really what you hear there. And then the Pro Q3, and I just boosted that 80, 860 range. It just felt like that was good. I wanted a little bit of body to that, especially because his main vocal is so crispy. My main vocal is so crispy. Adding that variation can help bring a song together when you have super crispy, middle of the line vocals with some ad-libs, with different sounds, different variations, different levels of distortion and reverb. That is one of the reasons we went so hard with Sean's different parts. And that's about it. That's really how I went ahead and made this song. It's not super complicated. At the end of the release, you can hear some wind playing in the background, and that was it. I'm not gonna play that because you know what it sounds like. And because we did top-down mixing, I was able to automate a lot of this, just do it on the fly. And then the only other thing, if you're really looking to elevate your mix game, and if you feel like I'm at a level that you're wanting to be at, the main thing that I almost always recommend, get Sound ID reference. Make sure to disable it when you're exporting. But other than that, use that and get a translation check. So AirPods is AirPods, but there's a ton of different things that you can check with. So when you're able to use a translation check like this along with a reference track, those are the two biggest things that I can say make a difference for me. I do not think that I am a professional. I could always improve, but biggest recommendation I could give to anyone who is trying to mix, especially if you think that I'm at a decent level, start by doing just that. Get some sort of reference software so your speakers actually are calibrated for the room, and or get some room treatment, get lots of room treatment. And the only other thing I would say, get your reference tracks, and it can make a world of difference with your songs. And I think that's it, guys. Well, thank you so much for stopping by, for checking this out. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, gripes, or complaints, you can leave those in the comments down below. Feel free to subscribe and check out my song Where, available on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Music, Amazon, and wherever else you stream music. Although there is some other LGMs, so we might be roped together. Love God, love people. Thank you so much for checking it out. Catch you on the flippity flip.